Smart, next to the young guy. All right. Look, we even put chocolates out there. If anyone wants a chocolate.
For a chocolate?
There's chocolates in the back. Yes.
I only heard a
No
chocolate.
donation to the office, so we figured we'd
I
put
went,
it
what?
out.
Okay, we're back in open session. Thank you for your patience. Up first is our student representatives' reports.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to begin this report by talking about the first meeting we had with the Student Advisory Committee. We held this meeting last week, and we were able to see all the students that we had elected into this committee. There were 3 student representatives from across all 4 grades, so a committee composed of 12 students in total. When we met the members, it was really exciting to see that they were all very eager to share their thoughts. They all brought up very diverse points and feedback that they had. So it was great to see people come from different backgrounds, different friend groups, and different interests to represent their grade level. Besides that, I'm going to start also talking about the first point that we discussed in this committee meeting, and that was the newly implemented cell phone policy that we had this year. For the policy, teachers each have a cell phone caddy, and they can require students to place their phones into the caddy at the beginning of their periods. Overall, there was very positive feedback on this policy. Students thought it was very successful and it was very well received. And most importantly, a lot of teachers have been very lenient with this policy, which has been a way to help students practice self-discipline and responsibility. So students that don't have problems with using their phones are allowed to keep them on their person.
After discussing the cell phone policy, we also talked about the new class drop policy. So in the past, it was much easier to drop classes. And now if you want to drop out of a class and get into an easier class, it's a little bit more difficult. You have to fill out a form and show that you tried your best to stay in that class and really put in effort to make sure you really want to drop out of the class. So initially we thought that this new policy wouldn't be well received, but actually it was. So at the meeting, a lot of students, like one student in particular, she shared that after she wrote the little paragraph about why she wants to drop out of the class, she actually decided that she would like to stay in the class and keep trying. And then after she stayed in the class, her grade significantly improved. And then she was very happy with her decision to stay in the class. And then another student who wanted to drop out of the class reflected on this decision because of the new policy, and at the end decided that this was exactly what she wanted. So in both cases, the new class drop policy is very successful because it allows students to really reflect on whether they want to stay in the class or drop out, and which is exactly what the goal was. We didn't want students to just drop out of classes for no reason. We wanted to make sure that they can reflect on this decision and not be impulsive with it. So it was very successful, and I think students really liked it, which is not what we expected. After the new policy, we also discussed the PSAT. So I think students were saying that because this is an online test, they would like it to be self-paced because a lot of students work faster than the other students. So what happens is that some students finish way faster than the other students, and then they have to wait for their time and also take a break. So they have a very long break, and then by the end they lose their rhythm of the testing. So because the break is so long. So what they wanted was to have self-paced breaks, so you can have your own breaks. Since it's online, it would be pretty easy to implement this. And also, another thing that was suggested was staggered test start times, because since each class would start the test at the exact same time, everyone would have breaks at the exact same time, which would block up the hallways and the bathrooms. So a lot of people wouldn't be able to use the bathroom if they wanted to during breaks, or people would be distracted in the hallways because it was so loud. So we know College Board controls how the tests are administered, but these are things the students complained about for the PSATs.
Another thing that we were recently informed about is the seal of biliteracy. This happens every year, and there's just an option for seniors to take it in January on a language of their choice. This is kind of reflective of their skill in a language and will appear on their transcript at the end of the year. I myself am interested in taking Mandarin.
And then I'm taking Spanish and Hindi. So students have the option to take one test or two tests or none of the tests if they want to. And then also something coming up this Friday is the marking period 2 midpoint. So around this time, there's not much going on. It's pretty easy. It's like a relaxed time of the year before winter break starts.
Despite this relaxation, a lot of seniors are stressed this week because ED decisions are going to be released. Early decision is a binding agreement, so most people choose their dream or top school, and once you are accepted, you have to go to that school because it's binding. Mr. Hemberger let us know that this year, early decision applications are up by 40% compared to last year, which is a very interesting piece of information, and there might be some new programs that we are considering implementing because of that.
So one thing we notice about all seniors is that everyone's very stressed about college applications. Obviously, that's a thing, but what we realized is that we start college application preparation kind of late in our school. So what we talked about with Mr. Hemberger was maybe starting junior year, we have programs to help students write their college application essays and figure out their extracurricular activities and just craft their college applications earlier on so they're not as stressed senior year. So we have Ms. Kaiser, who's our new college prep counselor, so we thought it would be possible to implement some sort of program so that students get a head start in the college application process, maybe junior year or even sophomore year for students who want to get a really big head start. And this way, it's not it's not that students have to start senior year and figure everything out really fast when they're so stressed about deadlines, and they actually have time to start their essays and other parts of their application.
Well, I want to thank both of you. Does anybody have any questions? I have a couple, but I'll let Stacy go first.
First of all, thanks guys for your detailed report. I always appreciate what you have to say. I just had a question. How did Mr. Hemberger take the feedback regarding the PSAT? Were they taking some of your advice into consideration for next year?
Mr. Hemberger agreed with us that that it should be self-paced and that the hallways were getting crowded during the breaks. But I think he did mention that I don't know if there's much we can do because College Board controls how the tests are given. But he did say that because it's online, if there was an option to make it self-paced, we would be implementing that.
Great, thank you so much.
And that's why I let her go first, because she took one of my questions, because I was going to ask if it was College Boards that mandates. I assume it is. Okay. The Student Advisory Council, you had mentioned you have 3 from each grade. Does that include the 3 senior reps, or are those in addition to the 3 of you?
No, that includes us, so we generally oversee the activities.
Okay, thank you. And then the other comment I wanted to make is to thank you for giving support to my argument to my junior kid, because I want her to start her application now and start those essays, and now I can say, see, we have great student representatives who are telling us that that's what you need to do.
Okay, can I just ask real quick? You mentioned the 40% rise in early decision applications. Do you know if that's specifically for our high school, or is that across the nation, or is it just up everywhere?
This is specifically for our high school. So compared to last year, there's 40% more students who are doing early decision.
Yeah, thanks.
Anyone else?
Just me.
Mr. Beers, go ahead.
No, thank you for an excellent report. And can I just ask a question related to college essays? Do you think there would be any interest in a summer program or a summer seminar for kids to do that? Because I know that's something we offered at one of my former districts, and I know that there are high schools out there where you say, look, maybe this is a program where kids could sign up and at least you get to tackle that college essay for the Common App before you're, like you said, in the midst of your school programming where you have a lot of work to be done beyond this college essay. You think there would be any thirst for that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, a lot of seniors this year have been utilizing their English teachers to help them edit their essays, but that normally starts in September or October. So having a summer program would definitely take off the stress of writing their essays and help them be prepared ahead of time. So since it's something that students are already doing, it would be such a better idea to shift the timeline earlier.
No, thank you. And to all the parents out there, I know it's not just stressful for kids. I know with my daughter, it was stressful for me as a parent, but that's beyond the point. So I'm glad to hear that there may be interest because, you know, that's a program that a lot of schools like similar to Bridgewater run to do exactly what you said, to lighten the load on you, you know, once you start the school year. Thank you, though. Both of you are doing an excellent job.
And as always, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you have studying that you need to do or homework, don't feel obligated to stay. Or relaxing, or whatever you need to do. We are up to Mr. Beers and his superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Singer. So before I start my presentation, I would just like to report out, and it's a similar message to what I shared with everybody at our retreat last week. And I think this time of year, obviously, we're coming to the end of 2023, and it's a great time to reflect on the things that have gone well. Right? There are always things we can improve on, and we'll certainly touch on some of those when I give the climate survey presentation. But again, I want to begin with where we are and precisely what is going right. So first and foremost, this board, the community, Bridgewater, and I should say the communities of Bridgewater and Raritan, passed a bond referendum over the past year, right? Once in March, once in November, that added full-day kindergarten to our district and is going to restructure the educational process throughout the community. It's also going to finance much-needed repairs to our school buildings, bring climate-controlled conditions to our classrooms, meaning air conditioning and air quality. And the challenge for us here is now to figure out how to really optimize and reimagine the educational product that we offer in our district. And look, over the course of a couple of years here, I believe the district is beginning to change the narrative. And if we go back to the report in October, I believe October 30th, there are significant gains made by Bridgewater-Raritan students with narrowing the learning loss from COVID lockdowns. If you look at some of the articles posted on NJ.com, wherever, to really see where students are, we've made some pretty significant gains here in this district that are not emblematic of the entire state. So I want to give props to our students, our teachers, our parents, and everyone involved to really work to get our kids back to where they were prior to the lockdown. We're not there yet, right? But we made significant progress. At this point, you know, from the work of curriculum and Ms. Jones, we have ESL programming at every single school throughout the district. We have gifted and talented programming at every school throughout the district. We've seen significant upgrades in our facilities, and the work of HR and Dr. Fonder, we've really been able to recruit excellent teachers, administrators, and principals that have really enhanced our system. It seems like a distant memory, but now we've been able to fully implement the block scheduling at our high school, right? So unit lunch, if we remember all the reports on how it's not going to work, it's crazy, X, Y, and Z. Now it's just, part of the process, and it's really going well. As the young ladies had said earlier, we offer the PSAT for all students, and that's, again, an initiative from the curriculum office. We've enhanced the physical security of our buildings, as well as added additional security personnel. I'm going to report on this in a minute or two, but we've also conducted a district climate survey with the New Jersey School Climate Initiative with the following data points that are significant. With the data I'm going to show in a couple of minutes, it's based on the input of 4,818 students, 1,869 parents and caregivers, and 945 staff members. Right, and now we are in the process of scheduling a long-range planning committee in the new year. So we've talked a lot as a board about enhancing two-way communication. And I think we've done quite a bit so far this year, A, with the referendum, B, with the climate survey, and now C, we're going to have a long-range planning process where we can really interact with our constituents, leading to a final product. So again, I want to give props to the board, to the community, to everyone who works in the system. It's a time to really take stock and give thanks. We've really had a productive year. This governing body has had a productive year, and you should be proud of what you've accomplished. Right, so with that being said, I'm going to just get set up here for a second and give the presentation on the climate survey results. So if you bear with me for 1 minute. Okay. There we go. Okay. Is this on? Yeah, it's on. All right, so a few weeks back, we distributed the climate survey throughout our district. Again, we were looking at 3 different groups: students, parents and guardians, as well as faculty and staff members. So the platform that we utilized is the NJSCI, which is the New Jersey School Climate Improvement Platform. And this product was created in conjunction with the NJDOE and Rutgers University, the Blaustein School of Public Policy. So again, this platform was free, right? It's through the NJDOE, and it's been developed, for schools to specifically take a look at their climate and ways that they can improve it. I'm sorry. So our goals, right? And these are directly, these bullet points are directly from the materials from NJSCI. So once you agree to do the survey, you can use their materials, and they actually encourage you to utilize their language instead of your own. So we know that school climate is important, and it encompasses the dynamic and diverse feelings, perceptions, and impressions of school community members. And again, that's teachers, students, parents. School climate reflects on the experience of how it feels to be part of a school community, right? And that's from each person's unique perspective. And it also reflects on the interactions with other members of the school community. And really one of the purposes of distributing this survey is to challenge your deep set beliefs. I mean, we know in any town, there are plenty of people, whether it's administrators, teachers, students, parents, who believe they're in the know, right? And we've had a few of those moments when we look through the data. You know, we think we understand what's going on in front of us, and yet we see a survey and it challenges those beliefs, right? And why this is so important is we know that positive school climates promote higher levels of achievement, right? And there are fewer disciplinary issues. There are fewer mental health challenges if you have, you know, a positive climate. Now again, what we've got to be careful of is to recognize that school climate, it's also not a slogan, a sign, an emblem, or any of those things, right? School climate is the way people interact on a day-to-day basis, right? And there's part of it, and we'll see the detail that's of some of these categories. And I'll go back to the second bullet point. We're asking kids and folks who are part of this system, hey, how does it feel to go to second grade, you know, to go to third grade or fourth grade or eighth grade in this system, right? And a lot of that is based on how the people in their day really interact with each other. I'm sorry. So this circle here really shows the entire process. And what we just finished is really at the top at 12 o'clock, which is collecting data and tracking progress, right? We pushed this survey out. We received everybody's responses. Now we're at the second part where we are analyzing data. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. This is more sensitive than I thought. We're analyzing data and prioritizing our needs. And I'll go into what that really encompasses in one of the next slides. So once we really do that data analysis, and this does happen at the building level and at the district level, then the whole idea is to develop goals specific for each school to address the areas that you need to improve, you know, based on the climate survey data. And we know a lot of times, and I think we talked about this a little bit at the retreat. This is bizarre. I'm sorry. We spoke a little bit at the retreat. When you set a goal, it's supposed to be based on data, right? What this provides us is a data point that we can utilize to formulate school and district goals. Not that this is the only thing we use, but it can be one of those measures. So once we develop those goals, we look at, you know, in a perfect world, and look, we're actually headed down that way. We should take this data and work towards designing or amending a district strategic plan. And we're going to begin that hopefully at the end of January. And of course, the last part is you're implementing strategies and you're monitoring it. And the way you monitor it is you give this survey. See, something magical going on here. I'm sorry, I'm not even touching the remote, but anyhow. So we want to continue to implement and monitor, and look, at best practice for this survey is that it should be given probably every other year. And then you compare your data to the next year. So it's at least a year, preferably 2 years, because you don't want to get fatigue from too many surveys. So now participation. I believe we had excellent participation from our constituents. And many of you here at the table are parents. So everyone received an email, which was a letter with a link, all right, from the district office. And then you received, and all parents received an email with a specific link for that school. I'm sorry, a link to the survey for the specific school. So for all staff, we set aside time during our latest professional development day. The survey took about 20 minutes to complete. And we also set time aside for student participation, and we did that on the week leading up to Thanksgiving break. And on the initial letter that went out to parents, did say that an opt-out was available if parents did not want their child taking the survey, and the number we received for opt-outs was less than 10. All right, and overall, I'm pretty happy with the participation numbers, where at least it gave us a robust data point where we could make some decent conclusions. So students 3 to 5, slightly under 1,600. 6 through 12, 3,239 students. Faculty and staff, this is just about all of our faculty and staff, with 945 responses, and parents, 1,869. We know that's one of the challenges of sending out a survey, is that the response rate, when you send it out to the general community, it's really tough to get that over, let's say 20%. On a good survey. So that's why that number is the one that's a little bit low. But look, I think it's an excellent example of two-way communication with the public, and it can give us some data points that we can draw conclusions. So what we're doing now as far as data analysis, the way this survey is formulated is that the majority of data, right, the granular data comes in at the building level, right, and to prepare every school, and we did this back in August and September, every school formed a school climate team, right, with multiple faculty and staff members, certificated, non-certificated, the principal, an administrator, counselors, et cetera. We wanted to try to make it a cross-section of the school. So they formed a team, and now this team is the one that interacts with the principal as far as accessing the school level data and making recommendations as far as areas that are are positives, and then other areas that I don't want to say are of concern, but could use improvement or further investigation. So again, the goal is to grab the data. I'm sorry. Right, we evaluate the data and then discuss the process that's going to enhance the school climate in that particular institution. See, this is one of the things where you're going to get different results depending on each school, and it's imperative that this process takes place at the building level. This definitely is not something that can be top down. So now presentations will take place at the building level to discuss strengths and areas for growth, as well as building goals. So that's going to take place in January and February. And what I've shared with everyone here, and the Board of Education has this presentation, we'll put a link to share it with the public as well. This is an example of what comes through at the building level. So when you look at each category, it gives you a score, and it's on a scale of 1 through 4, and it ranks them for you. So we see here sense of physical safety, supportive staff and student relationships, student sense of belonging, and supports for students' social and emotional learning. So this particular school, that's how the top 4 were ranked. And what the school also has access to, if you look at the right upper quadrant, you can see the breakdown as far as how many strongly disagree, agree, and strongly agree. Right, so you can really take a look at what that looks like. And then the second screenshot I have for you is really in each one of those categories. So if we click on sense of physical safety, these are the categories that populate. All right, so things like, I feel safe at school. All right, I feel safe in my classrooms. I feel safe on the way to and from school. And this is all important data for us to really take a look at, digest, etc. So I'm sorry. Come on. So some of the conclusions, and these are at the district level. So what the report we can get at the district level, it takes the averages of every single school, every response district-wide, and then we can take a look at our own data points. So we have a lot to be grateful for and proud of here in Bridgewater-Raritan. And when we look at the areas in this survey where the district scored the highest and our areas of our areas of strength, one is the sense of physical safety. And I've got to say that because it does fly in the face of some of the rumors, et cetera, that we've heard about some of our schools, right? And I've got to give kudos because at the middle school, this was actually the highest ranked area, sense of physical safety. Supportive staff and student relationships. This is also very important. A student's sense of belonging. Family support and engagement. And from our faculty, collegial support. So the idea that there is someone there that they can lean on and utilize. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to use my computer because this is. Okay, I apologize for the difficulties here. So we've gone through the district-wide strengths, and now I could give you some data that's a little bit more granular. So when we look at a sense of physical safety, this is the district-wide. These are the district-wide numbers that we received. So in each category, we can really boil it down to: do you feel safe at school? Do you feel safe on your way to and from school? Adults keep everyone safe. Feel safe in classrooms. Feel safe outside of classrooms. Feel safe after school. Is the school prepared for a crisis? And do I feel safe in the school building? And what you see along the top are, right, we could boil it down to the students in grades 3 through 5, right, 1,542. 6 through 12, our staff and our parents and caregivers. And you see a lot of correlation actually between groups many times. And what we do look for, right, are areas where the data doesn't quite line up. And I can give you some examples of that in a moment here. So another one of our positives are supportive staff and student relationships. All right, and at the top, adults treat students with respect. It's pretty solid across the board. Adults get to know students. Now, if we look at that data point, even though it's a positive for the district, we see that 6 through 12, well, that score's a little lower. So that's something where as a team, we're going to take a look at and say, what does that mean, right? And what's really behind that number? Adults care about students. Adults help students who are treated badly. That's actually a very positive number for us. And students feel comfortable talking to adults, right? So even though it's a positive, you could see that there are areas of real strength, but maybe a couple that we need to take a look at. Okay. 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 Some of the areas for growth. Okay. This was consistent across every school in the whole district, parents, students, and staff. Negative student interpersonal behaviors, meaning that at times it appears that kids may not be as kind to each other as we'd like them to be. Right, I think that's a nice way of putting it. And these are just basic questions. Students say mean things, push or hit. They leave students out, and students are mean online or through text. And consistently, these are the area. This is really the area amongst the student body, staff, everyone that that we need to work on, because that was a score that was consistently low.
Can I just ask there on that slide, is a higher number good on that slide, or is a lower number? Do we want those numbers to be higher or be like 0?
Oh, that's a great point, because this one is actually in reverse, and that's why the flag is there. But you would still want the higher number for this. You would still want a 4, even though it's inverse of what people are actually reporting. That's a great question, Mike. Okay. And another area, for growth that really jumped out at us was the organizational resources and supports. And this was answered by our staff. And we see here, do staff members have the resources and materials to do their job? Do we help them, our employees manage stress? Right, that's something that we really glean from this, that there is a level of stress in 2023 as a classroom teacher or a staff member in front of kids all day. We also see relevant professional development, collaboration time with staff. Right, that's something that our faculty is asking us for. Time for preparation and planning, and sustained professional learning. So these are all areas that not that they're not being done, they're being done and being done well, but we want to take a look at this with our teams. And this is what happens at the building level to really try to get a little granular, like when you say something like manage stress. Well, what does this really mean, right? And how as a building can we go and help people manage stress, right? And that's why the conversation on topics like that really can't happen at a district level at 30,000 feet up. It's got to be specific to that institution, because those are the folks that are working in collaboration every day. So here's an example of inconsistency, and there are a few of these. I'm sorry. This is bizarre. All right, here it is. Areas of inconsistency, and this really stood out to us. I thought this was funny in a way. So this is the high school. All right, so I'm going to blow the cover on the high school. And it's a high score. And the question is, teachers expect students to work hard. Kids are like, yeah, they expect us to work hard. Parents are saying, yeah, they want us to work hard. But look at the staff. There's a little bit of just there's something a little astray there. And for each one of these questions, what the schools data teams are doing, if you click on Show Distributions, it will give you the graphs up top. I swear I didn't push anything. Steve sees it. There is a ghost here. So you see up top where for students, 58% of students gave it a 4, that teachers expect us to work hard, right? That Bridgewater-Raritan has really high standards. That's from your kids. But look at staff. Much lower, and parents are somewhere in between. So now, this is one of the questions where you say, well, let's take a closer look and figure this out. And I know a lot of people at this table have raised teenagers, and you try to say, well, is it just the typical, teenage clash, but or clash between perceptions, etc. But it's certainly worth looking at. And these are some of the exercises that data teams are doing. So I wanted to pick this out because I really thought it was interesting, to see how students perceive things versus how adults perceive things. Okay, so we did that. Okay. So now the next steps. Just like I showed, we're going through data on a building level. So we're going to go step by step. Going to have these communications and conversations with our teams and led by principals, administration, and staff. And the main thing is to take this and not forget about it, but to really look at some of the feedback we've received and say, all right, how do we really address these issues? How do we help our students? How do we help our faculty? How do we help our parents navigate the system? And then as we go through this, next year is really where you're going to see those building goals that are based on some of this data that we received. And as we know, we're going to start the district strategic planning process. And we intend to use the data that we've gleaned from this as part. And we're going to continue to monitor and implement. Now, I know I use this term way too much. I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but I think this survey was pretty easy to use. It's provided data in a format that's easily understood. And the categories have been vetted to the point where you can really take action on them, right? Because the whole goal of any type of climate survey is you want to make sure that people embrace it and make necessary changes to help things get better versus, using it as a cudgel, so to speak, and people get defensive and maybe retreat to their corners a little bit. Because we know that this takes some open-mindedness. It does take you have to have the ability to really take that constructive criticism and listen to the feedback from all your constituents. So with that being said, we're going to continue on this process. I speak for the team where I do believe in going through this. We would do this again, right? And now we have a data point, and we decide when the next interval is, and we do that. But the main thing is that we use it for school improvement. We use it to guide professional practice. We use it to guide building goals, and we're going to use it in our long-range planning. So that's it, and I apologize. I swear it's one of those weird things here tonight where I'm not even touching the clicker and slides are moving, but that's a whole nother story. But thanks for your attention, and I can open it up to the Board of Ed here for any questions on that, and then the public in the appropriate time.
Okay, I'll go first. First, I don't know if anybody knows my feelings about surveys, but I've shared them many times. Generally, my criticism of them is that when you look at surveys that go out to the public for like big governmental sort of things, you typically only get like a response rate of like 3 to 12% if you're lucky. So like I'm not great at math, but based on the numbers that I was looking at, we're looking at like 23%, 40%, and I'm not really sure what the teachers were, but I just wanted to commend the district on the response because that is impressive. The question I had was, I don't expect that you have an answer, it's more of just a thought. Do you think that there might be a relationship between the behavioral issues that you were seeing amongst students and the stress on teachers? And that was it.
In one word, yes. Right, we know that following the lockdown, and Bridgewater-Raritan is not unique. And if you look at schools from across the state, it's one of the things that teachers comment on, is that they're controlling behaviors in their classrooms that typically they didn't have to control in the past. Right, and it's been a challenge for some. I mean, I don't want to paint a picture that it's chaotic, because that's not the case either. But but we know that students have greater needs following the lockdown than they ever had, and it's a tough job. It's face to face, and we know that a lot of the world following COVID, right? People have the ability to work remotely, work a hybrid schedule or what have you, and educators don't have that ability. And remember, even when we came back 2 years ago, there was quite a bit of anxiety amongst the general public of coming into a common space with people, and remember, our teachers did that on a daily basis. Far before the rest of society did it, and I think that's part of, at least with what I've read, that's part of the angst. But yes, you're correct. It's my long-winded answer.
So I know the parents didn't have any open-ended questions or answers. Did the staff have that or no?
Now that's a great question. So one of the benefits of this survey is that a lot of these questions have been means tested and analyzed. Right, there was a pilot program probably starting before COVID, 5 or 6 years ago, where there were pilot districts throughout the state that were utilizing this, and there was really an analysis done on questions, but through Rutgers and the DOE, to really modify this survey to give you actionable data versus open-ended. But again, long-winded, but there were no open-ended questions on that, because I think the idea is that it's near impossible to quantify or put a measure on that.
Go ahead.
First, I want to commend the district of doing this climate survey, and also want to thank the students, the teachers, and parents for participating in it. It looks like there's a lot of work and thoughts going through this process already. Thank you very much for doing that. I also want to actually shout out one of our board. I think Jessica has been proposing this for a long time, and I think we all want to, I on my behalf want to thank you for bringing this up. And thank you for the whole board for supporting it so that we're at this point. So that's thanks. And then if I have the opportunity to ask a question, it's not really a question. I think it's more like an inconsistency that you brought up one. I wonder if this is also an inconsistency. Just look at the data you've shown. There seems to be in the adults know the students, or adults care about the students question. I think you have a screenshot for that. What I noticed that the younger kids, 3 to 5, seem to have a really good response. But somehow the 6 to 12, that changed. I wonder, like, this age group difference is an inconsistency. I'm curious why that is.
That's a great question, and I think again that's one of the areas where we're going to ask the school climate teams to really delve into, to say, look, what's behind this, and I know again, anyone who's raised teenagers, sometimes it's part of being 15 or 16, but we don't want to write it off as just being 15 or 16. We want to see what's really behind that. And talk to students in more depth and try to figure out ways now to improve it, right? And I think that's the whole purpose of this survey, is to say, look, we have a number and this is where we are, right? And it's really not, there's no point in debating, right, validity or making excuses, et cetera. It's, all right, what do we need to do to make this better and to be more effective in this area? So that's a great point, and that stood out to me as well, where you do see a drop as students get older. And look, we know as well, and not that we have a large percentage of students in that bucket here, but we know if kids do lose interest in school, so to speak, generally speaking, that happens right around middle school and then going into high school. That's the age of adolescence and teenage where students may become disaffected, which is an explanation as well. But again, those are just my own ruminations over this. It's really a matter of us taking a look and figuring out what we think that is and what we could do to address that. Because part of it is also to make sure that the institution is there for all students, right? And to me, that's probably what speaks the loudest now. Now, what that is specifically is really more of the puzzle.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's great we did.
Sorry, you were.
Great we did it. It's actually for those who didn't know, this is a policy. We have to do it every 2 years, 9561. If anybody didn't know that, it is policy. The other side of it is in the data, Bob, can you drill down to, grade levels? So individual grades and just schools, or how does that parse out? Are you able to look and say, we obviously know there were some social emotional learning issues. The middle school is a large growth from a social emotional learning time and maturity, and those kids, it's 3 years past now, and is able to see look at cohorts like that, or how does the data work?
Yeah, so you can drill it down, by grade. So again, that data, you can take a look in some of the comparative reports to really say, if you were at the high school, well, what do the freshmen think, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and take a look at the data that way as well. So you do have the ability. It gets a little more difficult to use, but you could get a general sense of where your distributions are amongst each of those areas. So that is true. And look, if we do this every other year, we'll be in compliance with that policy, right? We don't have to rewrite it.
Bob, does NJSC allow you to compare to any other districts so that we can see, while we're internalizing it, is this something that we're seeing across different districts?
That's an interesting question, and
I don't know if they have aggregate data or not. So.
I'm sure it exists somewhere at the state level, but at least from the trainings we've been to in the online modules and the like, it really seems like the goal of this is to keep school improvement at the local level versus comparing to other places, because their theory is if you want to build community, it really starts at that building level and at that school level. And we know even here in Bridgewater, gosh, the issues, concerns, or what kids face on a daily basis, or parents or faculty, it differs from school to school, even within our district. So I think they're cautious about sharing that data.
Fair enough. Thank you for the report. Does anyone else have any questions?
No. Can I add one thing also? And this survey was totally anonymous, right? So there's no way to track who gave what answer, et cetera, especially amongst students, faculty members, et cetera. So when we look at faculty, you'll get the faculty data for that school, but you can't drill that down any farther. I'm sorry, I misspoke. You could drill it down between certificated and non-certificated. That's as far as you can drill it down, because they want to make sure that people are not identifiable due to the responses that they may have given.
I want to make another comment. With any data, I think it's good to have a lot of data, but what does that data mean, right? So for example, when we have a score that's lower than the other, does that reflect the problem in a linear way, or does that reflect the problem in a much better or worse way? So what I'm getting at is that when you have a score that's lower in one category, we need to do some internal calibration how big or important this problem is, so that if it's really indicating the problem, we can identify it using this program, using this data, and really improve our schools. I'm certain that you are already thinking about that. I just want to make a comment. Thank you.
Sure, and you're right. Thanks for the comment. It's a larger issue, right? And we know even with the one data point that was consistent amongst all the schools is the concern of basically how students treat each other, right? And we know that's a large issue where there's not a program or a training you could do that makes that all go away. As we said, it's trying to figure out what the issue is, and then on a day-to-day basis, whether it's the classroom, the hallways, the functioning of the building, to make it a friendlier place for everyone, right? But it's not a quick solution to some of those. You're right.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Beers. Anything else for your report? All done. Then we're up to the President's report. And tonight, I have the privilege of presenting Jessica Levitt with this plaque recognizing her service to the Bridgewater-Raritan Board of Education and to the Bridgewater-Raritan Regional School District as a member of the Board of Education. During her time as a board member, Jessica has served on and been the chair of the legislative and academic committees. Jessica has been an advocate for mental health and wellness supports, impacting students of all ages, and as well has been a fierce proponent of school start time change. Over the past 3 years, I have truly appreciated Jessica's creativity, her approachability, her willingness to help others, and the thoroughness of her preparation in advance of every committee and board meeting, bringing relevant and thoughtful questions up for consideration by administrators and fellow board members. Jessica, I want to thank you for your devotion to our students and staff and for your service to our district. So we have a plaque. We also have this lifetime membership that gets you into, I don't know, everything.
Board meetings.
As many board meetings as you want.
Thanks, Steve.
We'll take a picture. Do you want to take a picture of the whole Board of Ed?
Yeah, just
right
let
here
me,
up front?
I just want to quickly say that my time on the board has been demanding and sometimes difficult, but also immensely rewarding. It's been a pleasure to get to know you all, and I thank the other board members for volunteering your time to serve your community. I've always had the utmost respect for educators, including teachers and administrators, and to be able to see up close just how much hard work and dedication goes into every decision has been inspiring. I did my very best to live up to your model and to do my duty to help Bridgewater-Raritan schools be the best we can for each and every student. This is not a position I would have ever imagined I would pursue, and I will forever be grateful for the opportunity. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Do you want to do a picture here? Bruce? All right. Let me turn the screen on. We can go in the back here.
You gotta get that from the edge or I'm gonna look out.
Yep. Before you go, look up at this camera and wave. I zoomed in. You can watch it later.
Jessica, how many years are you on the board? Three.
Do you want this?
So this is why I don't like letting Jessica talk before me, because then she sounds so eloquent and I stumble over my words. So last Tuesday we held our board retreat here, during which we discussed the progression of our board goals and our board self-assessment, among other items. As this is our last meeting of the year, I just wanted to thank each of the board members sitting around these tables, as well as the administrators, for their time, their energy, and their commitment to making our Bridgewater-Raritan schools great places for our children to get a quality and challenging education. Over the past year, it is no exaggeration to say that you have spent hundreds of hours in support of the school district, each of you, whether it be through attending roughly 24 board meetings, numerous committee meetings, back-to-school nights, PTO meetings, or simply handing out pamphlets before and after school to ensure that our community remains informed. This is time you've taken away from your family, work, or other activities, though I know it's hard to imagine anything more fun than coming to a board meeting, as Jessica will know next in January. And all of your hard work has not been in vain. If I had a nickel for every time I heard or said the word referendum over the past 2 years, that might have funded the HVAC upgrades alone. But thanks to the support of the residents of Bridgewater and Raritan, our district is going to experience some immense and wonderful changes over the next few years, with improvements that will impact every single student that walks the halls of our schools over the coming decades. That is an awesome achievement and something that I take great pride in and will carry with me for the rest of my life. So again, I want to thank each of you for your dedication to the school district and for your service to your community. Lastly, it is December and this is our last meeting, so I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday, no matter what you celebrate, and wish everyone a new year, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the new year. With that being said, Mr. Walker, the Vice President's report, please.
It's December, so we're into the year. We had our annual board retreat last week, as you mentioned. We went over the board goals at the retreat also. We reviewed the self-assessment, and I have the initial budget presentation, but I think that should go in the January. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. We're now up to our committee reports, and we will start off with the Academic Committee and Mrs. Levitt.
The committee met on December 6th. In attendance was myself, Mr. Joshi, Ms. Loughran, and Mr. Singer, as well as Ms. Jones, Mr. Moriello, and Mr. McCarthy. We started out with a review of the high school program course revisions and additions. Mr. McCarthy presented recommendations to change the 2D visual arts offerings and the sequence of coursework in the visual arts department. Mr. McCarthy explained how the changes will create additional pathways for students that include high-interest courses such as art and science, character design, and art journaling. Course offerings will continue to be developed in response to student interest. Mr. Moriello and Ms. Jones reviewed other high school courses, all of which provide additional opportunities for students. These include electives such as sports journalism, Spanish heritage, data science, robotics, engineering, and an education internship / teacher's aid program. The committee supports the additional courses and the vision to expand programs and opportunities. There was a question regarding transportation and scheduling of the education internship program. Ms. Jones will follow up with the high school administration. Any questions on that?
I don't have any questions. I just want to remind the board that there's additional information in the academic agenda, the academic folder for that agenda, for that meeting, that expands on the 2D visual arts offerings. It's really a comprehensive review of that program, and I want to commend Mr. McCarthy and all of his staff for working on that.
Can I also just add, because it was unbelievably exciting, but we also are going to update the program of studies. So all the new courses that we discussed will also go into the program of studies, and that will be at the next academic committee meeting in January, and then you will all have access to that as well. So it'll give you the descriptions of all the courses.
Is the, for the teacher's aid program, the education program, is that in other district schools for the most part? I know in the past, at least in my school, sometimes high school students would work with other high school teachers to kind of dip their toe into teaching. Is that a district-wide or in specific programs?
Well, we are in the process of developing it. It will not be in the high school. It will be high school students, and they will most likely be working actually in the intermediate schools.
Got it.
So because of the block scheduling, I did check that information out. It will be for students who currently they do not have afternoon classes. So either they have study halls or they go home and they go to work. So this will be students who are in that situation will be able to go to the intermediate schools, work directly with teachers and students every afternoon.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to comment on the program of studies that we reviewed. I found it really impressive that there was this correlation that brought multiple studies together, like math and art and science and art. And I think that's such a modern perspective on how to offer these programs. So I was really impressed with that and wanted to commend that.
Yeah, and as we discussed in committee, it will open opportunities to kids that might not have taken a 2D art class, a visual arts class before, but now they can take any number of electives that align with their other interests. Next, we reviewed the curriculum and textbook list. Ms. Jones reviewed the changes to the district textbook chart, including the new K-8 health resource, the new K-5 math resource, and the new Intro to Business textbook. All were previously shared and approved by the board. Next, we had policy review. As part of the board's goal of policy review, the committee compared district policies to Strauss-Esme policies. As they were very similar, the committee decided not to make any changes in the district's current policies. The committee did agree to eliminate the overly restrictive regulation, as there is no Strauss-Esme version, and the regulation prevents administrators from creating new courses in a timely manner in response to student needs. Ms. Jones will add the district's process for the curriculum development to the district's website because the intent is always to keep the community informed. And so that's on the agenda tonight. Any questions on that? Next, we had a discussion on the drop-down procedure at the high school. Mr. Moriello shared data comparing this year's drop-down in each content area with last year's drop-down percentages. There was a significant decrease in the percentage of students who dropped from AP honors level courses into academic level courses this year. The administration will continue the same drop-down process for next school year. Students will be able to drop courses starting in the first week of school and continuing through the mid-marking period, 1 week after progress reports. The committee discussed the importance of clearly communicating processes and data and dates to staff, students, and parents to eliminate any confusion. Any questions on that?
So drop down is within a school year, dropping down, so if someone...
So from like an AP honors level to a regular...
Does that have to necessarily take place within like a single, like you try it for a week and drop down, or if you drop down over the course of, like you finish a year in AP and then the next year you decide to take something...
Well, at the
back
beginning
down?
of the year, you can choose a different track always,
Okay.
but
I wasn't
this
sure if that
is,
was encompassed by
this is
that terminology.
to try to, we had an overwhelming number of kids like sort of switching around and playing with
Got
their
it. That's what I first
schedules,
did.
and
Thanks.
they, like the students mentioned, they wanted to make it a little more comprehensive of why are you really dropping, why did you sign up for this course in
Right, I
general.
understand. Thank
and-
you. Let's make sure I have the term right.
Yeah. And we adjourned at 8 p.m. Next meeting is to be determined.
Thank you, Mrs. Levitt. Up next is Community Relations with Mrs. Friedlander.
So it seems like an eternity that we met. It was on November 17th at 8:45 a.m. In attendance was myself, Ms. Loughran, Ms. Lee, Mr. Beers, Mr. Singer, and our guest star, Mr. Moran. First thing we discussed was some communication. There was some feedback about making sure that whatever is communicated out to the district, whether it's to certain buildings or across the district, is sensitive to the community and how things should be relayed or perceived. Understanding that building principals are responsible for their own communications and that programming and curriculum, emails or communications are approved and vetted. We also talked about the long-range plan with the strategic plan, which we talked a little bit more about tonight. We looked at the time frame and what the process will be, how the committees will be formed. We did talk about school start times and how it will be evaluated through, or could be evaluated through a committee, as well as through the long-range strategic planning process. We did review the strategic plan website from the NJSBA, which is also attached in the documents in our folder. Any questions on those? We talked about the district climate survey results and the update, which you saw presented tonight. We wanted to try to get as many people in the community to respond. As Ms. Lagren brought up, we did have a good percentage come back, which was impressive. The presentation was made this evening, and we wanted to commend the district on an excellent job getting that out. We also talked about committees and meeting norms for next year, looking at arranging meetings, pre-work efficiency and structure, and that we're going to analyze and make some proposals for changes to committees in 2024, looking at meeting norms and protocols, as well as working with experts that would help reflect our best practices. We did go over some of these suggestions and recommendations at our BOE retreat last week. We adjourned at 9:47 a.m., and our next meeting is actually this Friday, December 15th at 8:45.
Thank you, Mrs. Friedlander. Up next is Finance, Facilities, and Transportation with Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Singer. We met on December 4th at the Way Building at 5:30. In attendance was Ms. Lee, Mr. Pepe, Mr. Singer, Mr. Stars, and Mr. Beers. The first item is we discussed the business agenda you see this evening. We reviewed the draft business agenda, and we paid a particular attention to some purchases. We're adding some dividers at the high school for the gymnasiums. Some other things we did, there are bid awards on this evening. A lot of the referendum projects are happening, so you'll see the bid awards for bathrooms and also, I'm sorry, the vestibules. Thank you, Peter, on there also. We also are deciding that BR Cares is expanding itself into the other two schools this evening, and we're also doing a transfer from the maintenance reserve to take care of some projects we have ongoing. Any questions? And the board had a consensus to approve these motions. Any questions? All right, we had a project update on the referendum. Mr. Stars reviewed the open projects and the upcoming bids and the dates for the middle school toilet renovations and for the secure vestibules, which are on this evening. The bond sale took place today, and I think Mr. Stars has some information on that if he'd like to share. Also, the auditorium project should be finished this month, so we're glad it'll be done and the kids will be able to use it again. That should be in the final set of that. Some items that came in with the window project, there's always little things you find out with the windows, the bidding. We found out we have some asbestos caulk in the windows, which always makes it a little, disposing of that hazardous material makes it a little more expensive. That's about all for that. Any questions? And the bid awards were on the agenda for this evening. Any questions on that? Okay. Other matters, the committee had a lengthy conversation concerning the transportation and the role of the bus drivers for accountability of students. And there were no recommendations this time. Any questions on that? Our next meeting is to be determined, and we adjourned at 6:30.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Mr. Singer, should I talk about this?
Yeah, I was just noticing that there's no really other point in the agenda for you to talk about it, so if you could, that'd be great.
So I'd like to spread some holiday cheer. We had our bond sale today. We had 11 bidders, and the winning bid came in at 3.53% net interest cost. If you recall, we estimated and publicized our referendum costs with a 4.35% rate. So with this actual rate, the communities will spend $20 million less than originally projected over the life of this bond issue. And the average assessed homeowner will see an increase of $77 in Bridgewater versus the $90 that we were projecting in the literature. And Raritan average assessed homeowner will see a $59 increase as opposed to the $66 increase which was originally projected. So we did very well in the bond sale. One of our advisors told us that the current one-year rate is in the neighborhood of 3.5%. So we're getting that rate for over a 25-year period.
And who was that? Warren Buffett you had as your advisor there, Peter? No. All right.
So that actually means the taxes will go down a little bit, because we were looking to be flat with the, correct, a little bit? Up less, okay, up less.
Because we had questions.
Question one was flat, correct? Question two will go up
Right.
less.
So,
That's good news.
In total, they're going down less. They're going up less.
Up less, gotcha.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stars. That's wonderful news, and really appreciate you and your staff and Mr. Lumsky, who's not here anymore, working on this. So that's could not have imagined 8 months ago the number being 3.5. So that's
2 months ago, we were looking on the other side.
yeah. So that's just fantastic. All right, we're up to Mr. Joshi and the Personnel Committee.
Okay, so the committee met on December 5th at 5 p.m. In attendance were myself, Mr. Singer, Mrs. Friedlander, and Dr. Fonder. The first item on the agenda was the draft personnel addendum, which is for today's approval. The committee discussed the addendum items and supported the action items that are listed. Item number 2 was the safe reopening plan, the required update. The committee discussed the safe reopening plan. There is no revision to the plan. This is a required update and there is one final required update that will take place in June of 2024, and that will be the end of it. The committee supported the action item. Number 3 was the substitute rates, which is up for approval for tonight. The committee discussed the rates for substitute teachers, substitute teacher assistants, substitute secretaries, and substitute cafeteria playground assistants. The committee considered different options with feedback from the administration and determined the new proposed rates, which will be effective on January 1st, 2024, just in a few weeks. The committee supported the action items. Item 4 was the 10-month, 12-month administrators. The committee discussed the administrative roles that are 10-month and those that are 12 months, 10 months and 12 months. Dr. Fonder identified some key administrator roles that the administration believes should be transitioned to 12-month positions in the future. The committee supported the administration continuing to explore options for transitioning identified administrator roles from 10-month to 12-month positions in the future. Say that 20 times fast. Item 5 was the high school counseling department staffing, and I wish the students were here to hear this. The committee discussed the counseling needs at the high school level and how additional counseling staff could be deployed. The discussion included the number of school counselors in total and the number of students assigned to each school counselor. The committee also reviewed other counseling support services and personnel at the high school level. The committee supported the hiring of additional counseling staff for this year using the available ESSER grant funds and supported building additional high school counseling staffing into next year's budget as well. So in total, we will have 2 additional counselors at the high school. Item 6 on the agenda was the 00 bylaws, 00 bylaws, the policy series. The committee discussed the Personnel Committee's review of the bylaws section of the policy manual and will look at policy policy 0165 and 0167 in particular at a future meeting. No action was taken, and we adjourned at 5:53 p.m. And our next meeting is to be determined.
Thank you, Mr. Joshi. Are there any questions? Lucy?
So two additional counselor, what type of counselor work do they do? Are they guidance counselors?
Yeah, there'll be guidance counselors, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I really want to commend the committee for having this discussion. One of the things that has come to our attention, and we know the young ladies who were here this evening discussed the pressures and everything that goes into the college application process. And again, it's not just for college-bound students, but for all students. But one of the areas where our ratios are high is in the counseling office, where in an ideal situation, that number should be closer to 200, right around that area, for as far as counselors to students, and that's guidance counselors. I'm not talking about student assistance counselors or the like. So this is an area. I mean, I'm really happy that the committee had this discussion, because I think it will go a long way in helping to prepare our students for college, for the workplace, for military service, whatever they want to go into, but to help them with that high school experience. I'm sorry if you were going to say something, AJ.
And what I was going to add is that maybe in the future, we even discussed that transitioning, ninth grade, 10th grade into 11th to 12th, so that there is a good, like they said, the essay process could start a little bit earlier. Yeah, so it'll be good.
Thank you. Are there any liaison or delegate reports?
Yes, I have two. The NJSBA Council Delegate Assembly was held last Saturday. Was it last Saturday already? I'm losing track of time. And I think all the resolutions that were up were approved, with the exception of the resolution that the committee for the NJSBA hadn't supported for the certification of non-English staff members in certain situations for vocational training. Although the vote was close, and it seemed like there was support. There might very well be support for a resolution like that along the way. But you can. And then, any questions on the NJSBA? Then I also had some stuff from Raritan.
It was riveting stuff.
It was, especially when they got into that.
The procedure, the procedure itself was
you missed some of it.
worth the
You
price of
missed some
admission.
great procedural machinations going on. But I think most people kind of spotted where it was not correct right away. But they got it right in the end, even if it caused the rest of the meeting to be a little bit rushed. There was always good discussion at those. And just from the Raritan Council, no report per se, but I just want to thank the entire Raritan Council and really everyone in Raritan for their work to support the schools this year, particularly in getting the word out about both referendum questions. It feels like a lot more than 11 months ago that we were, a few of us were at the meeting in Raritan for the first referendum presentation. But everyone there has really supported the schools and done a lot to. Schools always come up at their meetings, and I know everyone there cares deeply. Three people in particular, I just wanted to mention. Councilwoman Joan Hutzler is leaving the council this year. She has been the liaison to the Recreation Department, where she previously worked with, bringing a lot of great recreational events, working with the schools, the library, and setting up a lot of sports and activities for kids in Raritan. So thank you to her. Mayor Zach Bray is leaving, who's led Raritan for the last 4 years. Great guy, and a great role model for anyone who wants to get into elected office and leadership, particularly as a younger person, and also a teacher and coach of the district. So thank you very much to him for taking on both those roles for a long time. And finally, our liaison to this board for the last either 5 or 6 years, I'm not sure which it is Councilman Pablo Orozco, who is also leaving the council. Has his parent, cares deeply about the schools, and has been very helpful, not just to me, but to my two predecessors that have served in in his time, including having 2 new board members to kind of break in and get to know the ropes in Raritan and the schools in short order. So thank you very much to him to Councilman Orozco for serving as our liaison for the last half a decade plus. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Walker.
Yeah, I serve as the one of the NJSBA reps for the NJSIA, which is the New Jersey Student Interscholastic Athletic Association, and they came up with a couple new things. They are next year. They put forward a pilot for girls flag football. So it's a pilot program, and usually the way the pilot program works for a sport is they try it out for 2 years, then bring that in. Also, they're doing that for ice hockey, girls ice hockey. Also, there's a couple of schools doing that as a pilot program. And one of the areas they have seen they put out a plan. I shared this with Mr. Beers, is a discipline policy for attending NJSA events and student events, because they've seen a rise. There's been a shortage of referees in different areas, and they're finding some of the culture needs to be a little bit adjusted, and they're looking for a consistent message out the state. So I've shared that with Mr. Beers and also I can share it with you all, but I also shared it as a higher level. We have a policy that addresses that, so I brought that to the attention that those are, it's the facilities of the districts, and there's a policy. So I brought it to the director of the NJSBA SBA also. So just some things that have happened from the athletic standpoint statewide.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Any other liaison or delegate reports? Seeing none, we're up to item number 11, our first public comment session on action items only. Individuals and our groups are invited to present their concerns, comments, and requests regarding the following action items to the Board of Education at this time. In accordance with board policy, members of the public are allotted 1 opportunity to address the board for a maximum of 5 minutes during this period of the meeting. Please be advised that a video recording of this meeting will be posted on the district's website, and we ask that you state your name and residence for the record. And again, this is only on action items which are under section 13 of the agenda. Once, twice. Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of public comment. We're up to item number 12, the approval of minutes.
So moved.
Are there any changes that need to be made? Seeing none, Mr. Stars.
Ms. Lochran,
Yes.
Mr. Pepe,
Yes.
Ms. Calistri,
Yes to 1 and 2 abstain from number 3, the board retreat.
Mr. Joshi,
Yes.
Ms. Freelander,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Ms. Levitt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Singer.
Yes, the motion passes. We're up to the approval of action items. Up first is Personnel 2417 and Personnel 2418.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Mr. Stars.
Ms. Lochran,
Yes.
Mr. Pepe,
Yes.
Ms. Calistri,
Yes.
Mr. Joshi,
Yes.
Ms. Freelander,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Ms. Levitt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Singer.
Yes, the motion passes.
Okay, I just wanted to take a second and also let him know that his detention is over, but we want to welcome Adam Lehman, who is currently our mathematics supervisor at the high school, to his new position as an assistant principal at the high school. So again, congratulations and thank you for explaining. We're lucky to have him here with us, and we're ecstatic that he applied for the position and certainly well earned. So thank you.
Congratulations. We're up to Curriculum 2432 through Curriculum 2436.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I had a question. What is a community-based instruction program?
That's through. It's through special ed programs, so it gives students the opportunity in special ed programs to go out there and they use the transportation and they work with people in the community, and it's part of their educational program. So we've been approving those separate from field trip destinations so that people can see what the 2 different reasons why we would have trips or destinations.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Just want to remind board members that when you're not speaking, please turn off your microphones. Mr. Stars, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Lochran,
Yes.
Mr. Pepe,
Yes.
Ms. Calistri,
Yes.
Mr. Joshi,
Yes.
Ms. Freelander,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Ms. Levitt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Singer.
Yes, the motion passes. We're up to business 2469 through business 2475.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments?
Just regarding the more comment on the BR Cares program expansion to Van Holten and JFK, it'd be great to have them in. They do a great job across the district. Just want to thank everyone at the group that's in there now serving the students. I think they've been there a while. The jointure, they do a lot of good work, not just in our district, but around the county and in different areas. So thank you to everyone there for helping us out and working on behalf of the kids. Because that is, for kids who are, school's a long day, who have 3 extra hours at school, potentially, I know exactly what the hours are, but that's an important time, and those connections and that help that they offer kids is really meaningful. So thanks to everyone who works VR Cares, the jointure, or anywhere for kids after school. It's not me.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? I would just like to thank the Hamilton School PTO for their bringing assemblies to Hamilton, and to the Crim School PTOs for the mini grants that they awarded to their, well, it looks like for good bus behavior and for the Healthy Heart Run program. So thank you to the PTOs. They always do great work, and we always appreciate them. With that said, oh, never mind.
I just want clarification. Mr. Stars, that's the vestibules in 10 of the schools, correct?
I'm sorry?
The vestibules that we're awarding?
All the schools except for the high school.
Except for the high school, so 10 out of 11, so just wanted to, we're getting there. Thank you.
But we're also not doing one at the high school, right?
Correct.
Right, okay.
I think we're actually looking at the security of the high school and what's the best way to do it.
Right, in the
So
world,
it's not,
right.
we're not going to do it, we're just relooking at the plan.
Okay.
Can I just ask a
Of course you
question?
can.
Sorry. For the grant award that rewards good behavior, I think that's really cool. And I was wondering, is that something that's like being piloted, or is that something that was just a grant? And is it possible to see that happen in other schools?
Well, we just happen to have the president of the Crim PTO here.
PTO. It was an initiative that Mrs. Tenkate is piloted. We're trying it, where all the kids are gonna, they're like horses that they'll get for good behavior on the bus. It's geared towards bus behavior because they're having issues. So she's trying it. If it works, they'll probably let other people know. So,
It sounds like a fantastic idea.
yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else? Seeing none for real this time, Mr. Stars.
Ms. Lochran,
Yes.
Mr. Pepe,
Yes.
Ms. Calistri,
Yes to all, abstain from 2470.
Mr. Joshi,
Yes.
Ms. Freelander,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Ms. Levitt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Singer.
Yes, motion passes. We're up to Special Services 2418 through Special Services 2420.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Mr. Stars.
Ms. Lochran,
Yes.
Mr. Pepe,
Yes.
Ms. Calistri,
Yes.
Mr. Joshi,
Yes.
Ms. Freelander,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Ms. Levitt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Singer.
Yes, the motion passes. We're up to other 2418 through other 2420.
So moved.
Any questions on 2420 or anything on each of these that needs to be moved into closed sessions?
I just have a
Go ahead.
I just have a comment that I will be abstaining from the affirming 2419, not because I didn't read them, but that I'm in conflict with at least one of the reports, and I do not want to single it out. So I just wanted to make it clear why.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, Mr. Stars.
Ms. Lochran,
Yes to 2418 and 2420, abstain from 2419.
Mr. Pepe,
Yes.
Ms. Calistri,
Yes to 2419, abstain from 2418 and 2420.
Mr. Joshi,
Yes to 2418 and 2420, abstain on 2419.
Ms. Freelander,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Levitt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Singer.
Yes, I believe the motion passes, right?
Yes.
All right. Lastly, we're up to policy 2412 and policy 2413.
So moved.
It's our last one.
Second.
Second.
The competition. All right. Is there any questions or commentary on the policy changes? Seeing none, Mr. Stars.
Ms. Lochran,
Yes.
Mr. Pepe,
Yes.
Ms. Calistri,
Yes.
Mr. Joshi,
Yes.
Ms. Freelander,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Ms. Levitt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Singer.
I'm going to abstain on policy 2412 and yes to 2413. Motion passes. We are now up to our second public comment period. Individuals and/or groups are invited to present their concerns, comments, and requests to the Board of Education at this time for any matters. In accordance with board policy, members of the public are allotted one opportunity to address the board for a maximum of 5 minutes during this period of the meeting. Please be advised that a video recording of this meeting will be posted on the district's website, and we do ask that you state your name and residence for the record.
Wow, that's weird. This side, I haven't been on this side in about, 16 years. I'm Jill Gladstone. Can you hear me? Okay. Jill Gladstone, 25 Linvale Lane, Bridgewater. It's nice to see everybody. Very impressive new space you have. Love it. First, I want to congratulate the district and the whole community for the passage of full-day kindergarten referendum back from last March to this past November. As I was reflecting about, I was trying to think how long when I was on the board we were talking about it. I just know that 2008 there was a internal committee about what to do, and 2014 again, committee, and different administrators coming and going, and it was just incredible to see those numbers come in, and it's just so great. It's to level the playing field for all students in the community, wherever you live. Those who can afford private kindergarten can now have full day. It's just fantastic. Plus the added other benefits with the reconfiguration of the grades in sixth grade being at a true middle school. So congratulations to all on that. Also, congratulations to Barry and Mike on their re-election to the Board of Ed, and to Rebecca Hasuna, who had a successful election for the Board of Ed. She'll be here next month. Also, I just want to mention I've been following a few things. So happy to see that the PSAT is offered to all students in the high school, paid for by the district. That is also great. Also about leveling the playing field. Love it. Give the kids an opportunity who didn't really know about it, couldn't afford it because it was getting up there in price, and using that data to inform instructional decisions, and hopefully maybe kids who never thought about going to college, once they take the test, would consider it with support. So great to see that. It was great to see the climate surveys are back. I was a big advocate for that. I thought they were going to be on the chopping block a couple years ago, but so happy to see the data coming in and being analyzed by committees. Just really super impressive. Also, I didn't expect the new offerings of the high school. Great. I just really think this board has done a great job, and administration, the robotics and the offerings for all students. So good job. So I was sad to learn a few months ago when Jessica Levitt decided not to run for the Board of Ed again. Her absence on the board will be a true loss to the board and the community. Even before she ran 3 years ago, she used her intelligence, passion, and analytical abilities to help increase student achievement in some ways, and to also support student emotional and mental health. Jessica was a member of the district homework committee before she was on the board. And she was instrumental in developing the homework policy that was adopted during the summer of 2019. And in that policy, the goal was to reduce stress on kids by eliminating homework on weekends and certain breaks longer than 3 days, or I'm pretty sure. And also it had other points in that policy to help improve communication among students, staff, and parents regarding homework. So even before board member, Jessica was involved because she really cared. And then once on the board, one of the first big steps she took was to bring up the student dress code policy. She asked that it be looked at deeply, and her suggestions resulted in having the board adopt a new dress code that reflected current times, unlike the former policy that was based on the 1950s chauvinistic mentality. So thank you for that, Jessica. And then there's the school start times, which Jessica brought to the board's attention about 5 years ago. She always based her advocacy on science, remaining steadfast and strong. So Jessica, stay involved. I'm sure you will. And I and so many others know we can't thank you enough for your service to the community. It was 3 years went fast, but you did quite a bit, and before, during, and hopefully after. So thank you for your service. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gladstone.
Can you call me Jill, please? I have to fill this out. Okay. Thanks.
Any other public comment? All right.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Andrew Bucko, and I'm a Bridgewater resident, and I will have a child in the school system next year. I would like to address an article I recently read in The Breeze regarding the district pausing an anti-bullying program. The article quoted a number of people expressing concern with the source of the materials in the No Place for Hate program that the middle school was going to use. So I looked into it and reviewed the materials, and quite frankly, cannot find anything remotely objectionable. What I did find was a collection of lesson plans that thoughtfully covered a wide variety of topics and individual identities that bullies like to latch onto: biases, gossiping, spreading rumors, cyberbullying, discrimination, racism, bigotry, gender, and religion. And what I was most impressed with was how the plans warned the teacher leading the discussions about unintentionally singling out students who identify with the group being discussed. I'm afraid to say that it looks like the school district was bullied into abandoning its anti-bullying program. And the survey results that were shown this evening do show a need for that. Now I get it. A number of parents expressed concern about the origins of the materials, so the administration needed to look into it. But instead of performing a thorough review of the materials and ensuring that nothing objectionable was contained within them or would be used in an objectionable way, it seems that the school district decided to give up on its anti-bullying program. I'm left wondering, did the bullies win? We should not be allowing a heckler's veto to decide what is taught in our schools. We have seen what that has led to in other states and even some towns here in New Jersey. What starts as nonsensical complaints about topics that aren't even in the curriculum and false accusations that teachers are indoctrinating our kids leads to watering down history lessons and banning books. I don't know about you, but I don't want my child's educational experience diminished because of bad faith complaints. If someone came to this board and said that they were opposed to the concept of zero due to the religion and the ancient philosophers and mathematicians who thought it up, and therefore wanted the math curriculum to be changed, you'd think that was a joke. If someone objected to how the Revolutionary War was being taught and felt there should be more deference given to the English crown, you'd laugh at the ridiculousness. There are people who really do believe that the moon landing was faked, If one of them showed up and demanded that our kids are taught both sides of this, would you bow to that demand? I don't think you would, and I don't think you should have hoisted the white flag on the anti-bullying program. Our kids deserve that we, as a community, protect their ability to attend school free from bullying. The district's actions put that into severe jeopardy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of public comment. Does the administration want to respond?
I would like to respond. I just do, thank you. I just want to clarify that that was not our anti-bullying program. So we did not just eliminate an anti-bullying program. It was, and I think you are right that if you look at No Place for Hate, like the curriculum looks great actually. So I don't think that was the problem. I think the problem was the email that went out and the links that were to it, and that it looked like it was politicized. That's why. And so the district is continuing with our CASTLE program, which is character education. CASTLE competencies are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making. Self-awareness is examining prejudices and biases. Social awareness is your ability to understand the perspectives and empathize with others, including those from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and context. Relationship skills are the abilities to establish and maintain healthy and supportive relationships and to effectively navigate settings with diverse individuals and groups. It's demonstrating cultural competency. It's standing up for the rights of others. It's resisting negative social pressures. So we have a counseling plan that's in place, and in actually K-4, counselors go into all classrooms once a month. So when your child's in school, you'll see once a month they're going in and they're teaching these competencies. As you go into the middle school, we weren't doing it as often through the counseling office, and we actually are this year. So the counselors are going into classrooms, and in 8th grade, they already started the process. So the 8th grade, I think this started last week and is continuing into this week, where they're doing lessons on exploring bias, prejudice, and stereotypes. When we get to January, the 7th graders are actually going to have lessons on being upstanders, and then they'll have additional lessons later on in the year. What actually happened was, it was like a breakdown in communication between the building level, who were just reverting back to a program they had previously used, and the counseling office. And so they were actually planning to do the same lessons. The big difference with the building-based one was that they were going to have students sign a pledge, but there wasn't really an intentional plan moving forward for what they were teaching. This is actually the better plan. So what we are going to do is we're going to develop this out more. We'll do also curriculum projects in the summer where we create additional activities that we know we're doing more than 2 a year, that we're doing multiple ones a year. When we do that, as when we do any program, we do focus groups. So when we changed like Gifted and Talented, for example, when we did any of these major program evaluations that we did, we get feedback from teachers, from community members, from parents, because, you know, we want that as part of our process. Separate from that, so you're aware, and you can see all this stuff on the NJDOE website, there are standards. So some of this teaching is integrated throughout English, it's in history, it's certainly in our health standards. Then, in addition to having standards where all this is taught, we have mandates. So some of our mandates are the history and contributions of African Americans, that's the Amistad Law. We have Holocaust and genocide education, diversity and inclusion law, Asian American Pacific Islander history and contributions, people with disabilities and LGBTQ, the contributions of those people, is integrated throughout our curriculum, across all the content areas. So students are actually learning this all the time. So what I don't want the message to be out to the community is that as a district, we don't take this seriously and we're not doing anything, because we're doing it across all our content areas as well as through our counseling office. Do I think there's room for improvement? I think there's always room for improvement. One of the things we're looking at, and the state actually surveyed us this year on this, was how we're meeting the Holocaust mandate, for example. The question that they asked, in addition to how much time we spend, where it's integrated, which teachers teach it, what we're doing at different levels, was have we had a Holocaust survivor or a descendant of a survivor speak at the middle school or high school level? And while we have done that in the past, we have not done it in the recent past, certainly not since COVID. And so we're also working on that. And our plan is to really have someone come in 8th grade and in 11th grade. 11th grade will be aligned with U.S. history. 8th grade will be aligned with actually our English language arts curriculum, where we have nonfiction text, poetry related to the Holocaust, fictional stories related, speeches. And so we will be able to provide background to students, and then they will have an assembly, and then we can follow up because it's Holocaust and other genocides too, so through the social studies classes. We also teach this, by the way, in the primary grades. We just don't focus yet on the Holocaust specifically or genocides, but we're talking about lessons that will include respecting yourselves and others, bullying, accepting diversity in ourselves and others, and other themes and topics that are related. So we are doing all these things. We hope that by putting in these additional programs in 8th grade and 11th grade, they'll actually be sustainable, and we'll be able to continue these every year for students. So I hope that addresses some of the concerns.
Sure, go ahead.
I just had a question because I did review the ADL lessons from that program, and at the bottom of all those lessons, it does link back to Castle. So that is the same program, correct?
It's all the same competencies, because it's all about it being accepting of diversity, being inclusive, understanding ourselves and biases, right? All of it, the Castle competencies, the stuff that you see on ADL, that's absolutely correct.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I really appreciate all the information that you just provided to us and to the public. That's very helpful, and look forward to seeing what can be done. With that, we're up to item number 15, old business. Is there any old business that needs to be? Oh, Ms. Lochran.
I attended the STEAM fair, and also my daughter was involved in the Junior Achievement Program, and they're kind of correlated because they were programs that were connected to some of the things that we had discussed earlier. But I just really wanted to say, like, wow, that STEAM fair, they also included a sensory, thank you, I could not get it out of my brain, a sensory fair too this year, where they had just like hands-on tactical things, and it was great because my child was interacting with some of the kids that attended, and they just naturally were able to interact in this play environment, and I just wanted to commend that whole program and really encourage the continuation of it. The other thing I wanted to say, Jess, you're never going to be old business, but since I'm talking, I think the first time that I ever really paid attention to Board of Ed meetings was when you ran, and on the issue of school start times, and while we've exchanged thoughts about it, I've always believed in what you were doing, and I'm so grateful to know you and to have served on board with you, and I just want to wish you the best of luck without all the noise coming at you from all of this, so thank you.
Guess if we're doing this now, I'd just like to echo. I can't wait now and then do it later. It'd be awkward. Just want to thank Jess for serving on the board. I know we were out in the audience together sometimes. I was never really sure why I was there when I was there. I guess I'm here. But I always knew why you were there. It was a whole bunch of different reasons. So thank you for thank you for just being a part of all this and working on behalf of the kids from Bridgewater and from Raritan. So thank you very much. And I guess for thanking people, I just want to thank Steve and Barry for serving as our leadership this year. And I appreciate it very much. I think we all do.
I just want to say one thing too. I have to thank Jess. I'm sorry. I'm going to miss you a lot. Thank you for all of our calls, talks. You've given me a lot of insight, helped me my first year a lot, and I really, really am going to miss you. So thank you.
Add that. Sorry. I would just like to thank you too and add that academic committee really is the best. So.
I do have some comments. If everyone's not. I think some people might be disappointed if I didn't take my final opportunity as a board member to comment on healthy school hours. I want to implore the board to keep working on this issue and to recognize that there is some urgency. When I discuss the proven harm to our current schedule does to students, I certainly do not mean to imply that anyone here doesn't care. In fact, I acknowledge you all care deeply, and that's why you're here. And I truly believe we can overcome difficult obstacles when we put our minds to it. I understand that there will always be endless challenges in the district and that resources are limited. It makes sense that it is difficult for a superintendent to dedicate resources to this matter without a directive from the board, and it's difficult for the board to issue such a directive without more information. This paradox has been a reality for more than 4 years. And while it may seem like 2026 and the implementation of full-day kindergarten is a long way off, it really will fly by. Without commitment to making healthy school hours a priority, they will continue to be pushed off, even when we have a somewhat more convenient opportunity. So I implore you to move forward with gathering the needed information and to develop a plan with a clear, achievable timeline and stick to it. I'm going to be vulnerable for a minute and say that at the last meeting, I was offended and hurt by the way I was spoken to by Mr. Beers. Your comments and tone felt condescending, dismissive, and disrespectful. I understand and appreciate you are passionate about educating and doing what you believe to be best for the students. You may have taken my comments about the harm that early school start times cause as an insult to you personally and to all the other amazing professionals here. However, in my tenure on the board, I have done nothing to earn that distrust. My understanding of the reason there is an elected school board is so the community has representation and input in our schools. Any organization works best if its leader does not only rely on his extensive experience and expertise, but is also open to continue to grow and learn from those around him. I felt that some of my comments were dismissed as inaccurate. It was implied that I have gone against the proper process and implied I have failed to acknowledge the difficulties in this change. Considering your position of leadership, that felt disrespectful because I've worked hard to be professional and to cooperate. It was misleading to say any statistic I have brought up, quote, cannot be tied to school start times. I have the data to back them all up. I have always agreed that this one issue is not a panacea and will not fix everything, but it is one concrete action that has been irrefutably proven to benefit students. I understand the board as a whole has not reached consensus on this matter. Yes, that's disappointing to me personally, but I do recognize that I have only ever been one of 9 members, and I don't get to demand my way, and certainly never ask that you, quote, just pull a lever. I hope the board as a whole can continue to learn and consider and to bravely face this challenge of a big change that will help our students. I know you all work diligently for progress and for the bettering of our schools, and I thank you all, including Mr. Beers, for this dedication and hard work. Please continue to see the possibilities and know that you're appreciated for everything you do. Again, thank you, and I'll really miss you guys.
Is there any other old business? Are you at? Go ahead.
Kind of want to jump on and thank Jess as well for the work they've done and for the inspiration and help through the year. Thank you.
Last chance. Any old business? No. All right. We're moving on to new business then. We have on our agenda the review of a proposed 2024 Board of Education meeting calendar. This is not something that we need to vote on tonight because we will have it for the reorganization.
The intent is just to get any feedback on this so we can have one that we can approve on the reorg meeting. And there will be a change as the 23rd meeting, regular session that's listed here of April does not fall in within the budget hearing dates and the like. So I would be suggesting that it would be moved to the 30th for April. The second meeting in April be the 30th, not the 23rd.
I was going to say the same only because I believe that that is the second Passover Seder. So
Yeah, we already addressed that.
Okay.
So that's the first item. Does anyone have any comments on the calendar otherwise?
Do we know when,
Workshop?
21 through 24 of October. So
what are the week after that?
right.
Thank you.
21 through 24.
Nothing else on the calendar? All right, and then the other, I'm going to do the strategic planning dates.
Sure, I shared 3 strategic planning dates with the group. There's not a lot of wiggle room in them. Really, there's none. It's kind of the dates that they gave us. But we didn't see any major conflict with those 3 evenings. Obviously, there's going to be athletic events and things like that. Right, the city never sleeps here. But we won't be up against any, there won't be multiple things going on that night.
I did want to point out that February 29th is Leap Day, and there will be several faculty members and students celebrating their Leap Day birthdays. So I hope that that strategic planning meeting will not conflict with those celebrations.
But these dates came from school boards as the best dates for them, and I mean, I'm just happy to see it roll out and hopefully get accomplished quickly so that we can put that long-range plan together. Is there any other new business?
For that to happen, is that just an announcement for people to start thinking about attending? What's the timeline where we would actually say, as a district, hey, everyone come to these days? I know we don't have the dates set yet. Would it be as soon as we have dates, or is there some other action required?
Sure.
By the board or anybody else?
I'll move ahead and contact Gwen Thornton tomorrow, and we'll do this, and I'll get the necessary flyers. There are promotional materials to do this and to organize it, and we'll take a look. But it'll happen in rapid fashion come January.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And this gives us at least a month to
Yeah.
put that notice, so that's good. All right, any other new business? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are adjourned, and our next meeting will be our January 2nd, 2024 reorganization, right back here. Thank you all.